There's this old legend, really old, from a time before we had names for everything. It's a story about a people who lived their entire lives in a cave, and about one person who did something no one else thought to do. They looked away from the wall. Let's kind of unpack what that story might be trying to tell us.
So the whole story really hinges on this one simple idea. This idea that there are two worlds. There's the one you can see, and then this other one that your mind has to find. What if what you see every day is just, one layer of reality? And what if there's something deeper, something you have to understand rather than just see? The legend seems to hint that most of us, we never quite make it to that second world.
All right, so let's set the scene. We're deep inside a cave. And I want you to just picture this for a moment. For generations, people are born here. They live their whole lives here, and they die here. This cave, it's their entire universe. And it's not because they're foolish or anything like that. It's all they've ever known.
And from day one, they're taught a very simple rule. Rule number 1, what you see, that is the world. Those flickering shadows on the stone wall right in front of them, that's it. That's everything. The absolute unshakable truth.
And then comes rule number 2, which is maybe even more powerful. What you don't see, that just doesn't exist. It's a rule that just kind of shuts the door on any other possibility, right? If it's not a shadow on that wall, it's not real. It's impossible. And it really makes you think, doesn't it? How often is our own reality defined not by what's in it, but by what it leaves out?
Now here's the thing that's so clever about this setup. This cave, it isn't really a prison with bars and guards. No, it's way more effective than that. It's a school. Think about it. A school without any windows. The walls are the blackboards, the shadows are the lessons, and the curriculum? Well, it teaches you exactly what to believe, what to be afraid of, and maybe most importantly, what you should never, ever question.
But you know how it is. In every system, there's always one. In this school, there was a student named Arodan. In his mind, it wasn't quite as settled as everyone else's. He looked the same, acted the same, but inside, something was starting to stir.
So while everyone else is looking at the walls saying, "Oh look, that's the shadow of a king," or "There's the shadow of a dog," Arodan is thinking something different. He's asking himself, why is it always flat? Why doesn't it have any depth? You see, they saw objects. He was starting to see inconsistencies. He was noticing that the world seemed to tremble, and he was starting to realize that what everyone else called reality, it felt more like a show.
And this is such a key part of the legend. In a place like that, a place built entirely on "just believe us," a real question is more dangerous than any weapon. It's not about learning anymore. A question becomes a threat, something that could bring the whole thing crashing down.
So, of course, Arodan eventually speaks up. He asks, hey, what if there's more than this? And they don't attack him. Oh no, the system is much smarter than that. They just punish him for thinking. They silence him. They move him away from the fire, out into the cold and the dark. They give him a new name, he who watches too much. They didn't get rid of him, they just made him invisible. They isolated him.
But something funny happens in that isolation. Out there in the quiet, away from the warmth and the noise, Arodan starts to see things even more clearly. He looks back at everyone else, and he sees the chains holding them. And he realizes, wait a minute, those chains aren't made of iron.
So what if the strongest prisons don't actually have walls? This story suggests the real chains, the ones that truly hold you, are things like fear, the fear of being different, shame, the shame of being the one who's wrong, and maybe the heaviest chain of all, just what everyone says, that invisible pressure to just go along with it.
And that's when it clicks for Arodan. He gets it. The cave's power wasn't the rock. It was the story they all believed. And here's the thing. Once you really, truly understand a lie, it just can't hold you anymore. It's like seeing the trick behind the magic.
This new understanding, this realization, it leads him to do something simple, but at the same time, something that would shatter his entire world. A choice nobody had even considered making for generations.
He turned. That's it. He just turned his head away from the shadows he'd stared at his whole life and toward whatever was making that light. Such a small movement, right? But it changed absolutely everything.
And what he saw, it was the whole setup. He saw the fire that was casting the light. He saw the puppeteers, these people holding up little figures to make the shadows. He saw the whole lie in action.
His entire reality, he realized, was just a performance, a projection.
And you'd think this would be a moment of pure joy, right? But it wasn't. It was painful. His eyes physically hurt from a light they weren't used to, and his spirit, his whole world was just falling apart. I think this story is telling us something here. Truth often hurts before it can set you free. It's not always a gentle awakening.
After seeing that, there was no way he could stay. He just couldn't go back to watching the wall. So he starts this slow, difficult climb out of the cave, away from the only home he'd ever known.
And this climb, it's not just about rocks and ledges. The real cost of getting out is what he has to leave behind. He's losing his friends. He's losing his identity as one of the group. He's losing everything he ever believed to be true. It's a heavy price.
But then he makes it. He gets outside, and he sees a sun, colors he doesn't even have words for, a world with depth, a world that's real in a way the shadows never ever could be. And that's when he finally gets it. Truth, it's not designed to make you comfortable. It's designed to make you free.
You'd think the story would end there, right? Happy ending. But it doesn't, because Arodan, seeing all this beauty and truth, feels like he has to go back. He has to tell the others. He thinks he can free them. And this is where the story gets really tough. He goes back, and they don't welcome him as a hero. They see him as a crazy person, a traitor. All his talk about a sun and colors, it just sounds like nonsense. His truth was a threat to their comfortable reality. And that's when he learns the final brutal lesson. You just can't free people who have grown to love their chains. You can't make someone see something they refuse to look at.
This is usually where the old storytellers would pause. And they'd suggest, very gently, that maybe this isn't just a story about a cave. That maybe a cave can be anything we don't question. Maybe our screens can act like that fire, casting the shadows we see all day. And maybe influence, or algorithms. Maybe those are the puppeteers.
So Arodan, realizing they weren't coming with him, he left. He just walked away. But he left them with one last thing to think about. A thought that probably echoed in that cave long after he was gone. He said, "The deepest cave isn't the one you're born into.
It's the one you refuse to leave." And that's really the question the whole legend leaves hanging in the air for us, isn't it? The point isn't just to look for caves out there on the world, but to maybe ask, what are the caves we built for ourselves? What are the comfortable shadows we choose day after day over the difficult, brilliant light?